In this day and age, can you still get a reliable car for just $1,000? I'm Macho, this is Macho Motors, let's find out. And here it is. So from afar, it doesn't look that bad, but you can definitely tell with like the body gap, it wasn't an accident. And the previous owner sprayed parts of the car. It doesn't look bad in this lighting, but you can see especially some of the overspray right there, not overspray, the spray paint right there, trying to cover up the scratch. They did a really bad job. They tried to do some rust repair here and they super glued the front bumper together. So she needs a little love, to say the least. This fog light cover is flapping off, but I got a steal of a deal for this car. Searching through the world of Facebook Marketplace, you're sure to find some weird cars, especially when you have a budget of only $1,000. Not many cars are going to come fully assembled, running and driving, or even look good with that budget. So I'm super happy when I found this car. A 2008 Mazda 5 with only 126,000 miles. The owner said it runs and drives great, brakes and tires are good, AC and heat work. The only issue he really mentioned was the crack in the windshield and that there was a couple scratches and dents. But he still rated the exterior an 8 out of 10. So I had to give him that Facebook lowball. I offered him $1,700. He accepted. It was an hour drive. I took the drive out there. And once I got there, there was way more issues. So I gave him another lowball offer of $1,000, and to my surprise, he accepted it. So that's why we own a 2008 Mazda 5. Okay, we got the car on half a ramp there, and then one full ramp there, so we're good to go. There's no brake fluid in there. This is the tiniest reservoir I've ever seen, but we have zero brake fluid, so that's a little concerning. This appears to be coolant, and there's also no coolant in there. Power steering is at max, it looks like, or maybe that's just dirt. Nope, never mind, no power steering in there either. But I did check. I didn't check any of those fluids when I was first looking at the car, but I did check oil. So we do have very little oil in there. So that's why we're doing an oil change, luckily. So oil stick back in. I think to get a little bit of momentum and start feeling good, we'll start nice and easy with the air filter. We got to wait for the car to cool off to get to the spark plugs. Also, while I was getting it on here, the hot glue fix messed up because the car's relatively low for a minivan, but it scraped on the ramp while it was going on. Here is all the parts we have. So we got brand new rotors, new spark plugs, new brake pads, new air filter, new cabin air filter, and new oil filter. So this is kind of a little care package that I like to do just to tune up the cars. So we have the new spark plugs next to the old ones. Overall, not terrible, but definitely due for a change. And just like the air filter, it looks like they got some random Chinese brand versus nice OEM Bosch brand. Next, we're moving on to the cabin air filter, which is located right there. It's in a pretty cramped spot, so I'm not sure how much I'm gonna film, but I will show you what it looks like when I take it out. Alright, first look at the cabin air filter. Ooh, yummy. That's one. And that's two. As you can see, pretty dirty and tons of stuff already fell out of it. So let's get the new ones in and I'll get back to you. I'm going to try to clean out some of that. I can't see how dirty it is, but just wanted to show again how bad these cabin air filters were. That's the new one. That's the old one. But this, super filled up. We already cleaned out the inside. We got to vacuum up, obviously. We got one in there. Just got the last one to put in. Mazda 5 air filter, or cabin air filter. Never doing again. It sucked. My arms hurt. It felt like a workout, but glad she's done. So pick this back up tomorrow morning. So it's the next day. We're about to start doing the brakes and the oil change. That cabin air filter just kicked my butt. I'm excited to see how bad these rotors are, just because there's a lot of rust and pitting and it sounds very grindy when I'm driving it. I was really looking forward to getting into these brakes and just fixing up the car in general, but I soon realized I have a lot more work ahead of me. Starting with the ball tires, the sway bar end link that isn't even connected to the car, causing a lot of rattles, the grinding brakes and rusty rotors, and the strut mount that was leaking, and lastly the outer tie rod that was ripped and leaking grease out of the boot. As a wise man once said, out with the old, in with the new. Yeah, not sure how much money I'm going to have into this car because like I said in the listing, I bought it for $1,000. We're already approaching closer and closer to $1,500. These cars are worth around $3,000 in good running condition. Right now, obviously, it's pretty rough. Taking the Mazda 5 out with the brand new front brakes for the first time, and one thing I learned, that the headlights don't work. As you can see, those are headlights, those are high beams. There's no light coming out of the front of my car. So another thing that we need to fix. But car sounds way better and it actually stops when I press the brakes. So I'm gonna call that a huge success. I'm super happy. We're making really good progress in such a short amount of time on this thing, so we're just gonna keep the momentum going. The more this car breaks, the more we need to fix her. Just hopefully we don't pass the $3,000 mark. Bye, dear. Instead of working on fixing the car and making it a better daily driver, I decided to do something completely different and install an Apple CarPlay radio. I feel like it's necessary for any daily to have it, and with how easy these plug-and-play kits are becoming, it's just a no-brainer. So usually with Apple CarPlay radios or radio removal, it's literally just like 1 or 2 screws and then you pop it out. I had to take out the center console, the gear shifter cover thing, a whole bunch of bolts down there, on this side, in the back, over here, and now we finally have access to remove this thing. Come on. Needs a little bit more shimmying. There are a lot of tugs and pulls. Old radio is out, upside down. New one is right here. And look at that beauty. We got all the wirings. It's literally plug and play. I'm going to hold off on the reverse camera because I just want to get this done for now. Yes, that means I have to pull this all apart if I do want to do the reverse camera, but I'm lazy. So let's pop this bad boy in. Not going to bore you with all the wiring, just going to show you when it's all done. So just making sure everything works, which it does. Now we are going to hook up the steering wheel buttons so that way they worked for the radio. So now we just have to do them individually. So if I want to raise the volume, I Press raise volume there and hold it on here, and it says setup success. Next button, volume down, setup success. So we got to do that for all the buttons, tidy this all back up, and then we are good to go. Alrighty, so the last thing that we needed to do was the oil change on the car. But when I went underneath, let's show you. Underneath the car, we sprung a little bit of a leak here. So from what I can tell, it looks like it's coming from the oil cooler because I don't see anything above it. And it looks like it stops right where the oil cooler is. So I didn't want to put fresh oil in there and have it all leaked out. And then on top of that, I looked over here, and this is the transmission pan, and she's looking a little crusty. So I poked at it, and it's wet, and there's no leaks above it. So I think it's seeping through this rusty patch right there. I was poking at it, I'm not gonna lie. And it's really, I think I just made a hole. I'm pretty sure there's a hole there now. So I wasn't able to do the oil change because obviously we have the leak, and the transmission kind of worried me from driving it a little bit more because I don't know how much fluid is in it. Could I have checked? Sure, but this can go at any moment, and that worried me. So time to order parts. Besides that, everything else looks good. Like that looks like a leak coming from here. The transmission mount is pretty good. The CV axles look pretty good, and everything else seems to be pretty good. Little did I know, many more repairs were to come, and things were not pretty good. New oil cooler gasket and a new transmission pan. We should be all done. Oh, and the Bluetooth sway bar end links, that needs to be done too. Fortunately, this is just the work that comes with buying a $1,000 car, but we did order the oil cooler gasket, oil filter housing gasket, and then the brand spanking new, trying to get it out of the box, transmission pan and new gasket.
I don't even know how long this has been leaking for, so who knows how much oil we even have. Let that drip just to make sure we got it in the right spot. Oh, we do not have it in the right spot. So now we let that drain into the pan.
So here's how we're looking with this job. It is making an absolute mess, but we did get the oil cooler off. There's the mount, and then there's the oil filter housing. I got tons of brake clean that I'm gonna clean this all up, and by the looks of it, it looks like it was leaking from the oil filter housing gasket, so not the oil cooler gasket. I got both, so it doesn't matter, but you can see right here all this thick seepage that looks like it was coming through. And weirdly enough, I think the gasket was rusting, so I don't know. We're gonna clean this up, both surfaces, put in 2 new gaskets, finally do an oil change, and then move on to the next thing that's broken. So I finished up everything. I have the new oil filter, the new oil cooler gasket, and the new oil filter housing gasket in. I drained out the oil and then filled it up with new oil. So now we are going to check and see if there's any leak. I tried to clean up as best as I could with brake cleaner and a power washer just to see if we get any leaks in this area. So I'm gonna go up, start this car, and see if we got any leaks. If there's a leak, we gotta move quickly. Still have the exhaust leak. That would be the oil filter housing right here. Doesn't look like anything is seeping. I don't see anything seeping out of the oil cooler. I know some people might be interested, so here's the oil filter. I looked through and I didn't see any weird pieces of metal or glitter or anything crazy in there. So that gives me a little bit of hope for this engine. So the oil is a little dark, but there's no sparkles or anything inside of it. As you can see, it's just dirty oil. So I'm hopeful for this minivan being a decent daily for now. We did a lot of work so far, but as you can already tell, it's dark, so we didn't get to the transmission pan, but we already did spark plugs, air filter. We topped off all the fluids. We did an oil change. We did, the Apple CarPlay radio, which looks phenomenal. Whatever of the Mazda 5 project. I'm moving to something that hopefully won't take the entire day, and I'm just putting in new floor mats. Because you always need floor mats, especially if it's a daily, because it always gets dirty no matter how much you clean it. So let's get on to that. We got that Walmart special going in. Bam! It actually fits almost perfectly. Obviously some trimming to do around the gas and then up there. And as for the other side, it's damn near perfect, so I'm not gonna cut anything, but we're gonna fix up the driver's side and be done with this, and it is still daylight outside, so huge win. We're back underneath the car tackling the transmission pan. Ooh, that is not pretty transmission oil. That thing's supposed to be red, and Mazda 5s are known for bad transmission, so I'm super happy that we're doing this. But she shifts smooth, so I'm not super worried about the transmission. Like I said, these people did not take care of the car from what I can tell. So we have the transmission pan out of the car. Here is the filter. I would say that's pretty darn clogged. Able to poke a hole all the way through. So glad I'm doing this. Who knows how much longer this would have lasted. But new transmission pan is about to go in. Here's the new one, new transmission filter, and the old one. Got the transmission surface all cleaned up and ready for the pan. I just thought, why not make it look a little bit nicer? I'm gonna spray paint these bolts. I tried to buy them brand new just because they're a little rusty looking, but they're about $3 a piece from the dealership, making this over $60 in just bolts. They said there's no issue with reusing them, so I'm gonna just reuse them, save myself 60 bucks. Just make them look a little bit nicer. I'm gonna do 2 coats and slap this new pan back on. We got the hardware all pimped out. We got the gasket with a very light layer of gasket maker. You don't really need it. I have officially pimped out my transmission pan. The gold accent with the brand new transmission pan, looking pretty good. Oh, this seems very risky for some reason. Oh, it's because it is. All right, I'm spilling it. I was gonna show y'all a little satisfaction, but I just need to focus and pour it in. Okay, now with the longer funnel, we're gonna go in for the pour. Satisfaction for y'all, baby. We're just gonna worry about getting it in at least. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. She burped at me. Oh, good. This isn't going well. All right. I'm gonna just focus on pouring this in. My engine bay has been shined up from the transmission fluid. We're going to start up the car for the first time in about a week, to be honest with you. I love that exhaust leak. Okay, we're gonna just shift it through the gears, obviously staying in without driving. There's reverse, just get the fluids going. Neutral. Drive. We got suspension parts, so we got sway bar bushing and sway bar end links. So we're gonna pop that in. Hopefully easy peasy install. So a little reminder why we're doing this. That's where the sway bar should be. Sway bar end link should be connected, and this is where it is. So it's out in open space, and because of this, I'm assuming that the sway bar bushing is worn out too, just because I don't know how long this has been off for. So assuming that wore out the bushing, so we're gonna replace both just to have a smooth ride. That side took a couple seconds, super easy to do, especially with the channel locks, and there's no real need to explain why this one was broken. So we got the new ones here. I'm gonna put the bushings in first, just in case if we need to make any adjustments. All right, so this really kicked my butt. So the bolt is right here, and then there's another behind it. So all I was doing is just literally millimeter by millimeter just to loosen this up. I got it loose enough that I was able to wiggle out the bushing, and here it is. So it is the OEM Mazda one. So this might be original to the car, but you can see the diameter difference is way bigger, and even this inner sleeve is starting to rip off. So this could be a big source to a lot of our clunking. I still think we need a strut because it's pretty obvious, but this should improve the handling. Plus the Bluetooth sway bar end link is going to be a huge upgrade as well. So I'm going to get this all in. I'm super dirty already. I'm dreading putting this back in and even doing the other side, but we are going to get it done little by little. Sway bar end link all completed. No more Bluetooth. Job finished. That and I'm not even finished. I'm only finished with half of it. I only did half side, the bad side, but here she is. So we got the new brakes, as we already know, brand new end link and the brand new sway bar bushing in there. Don't know if you can see it, but I'm hoping this got rid of my clunking. I'm still gonna do the other side, but I'm just so exhausted after this one side. It's just a cramped position and you can't really see much, so I need a little break before I do the other side. But for YouTube's sake, I'm gonna just pretend like I did it and tell you guys, yep, both sides are done. Already did it, no problem, easy peasy. Took like 10 minutes in and out, but in reality it took probably like 2 hours just to do this one side. Now I know how to do it, and this was the harder side. Second side should be a piece of cake at this point. We are gonna go with the headlight bulbs. I already took them both out on each side. Here is one of them now. You can see there's a break right there in the middle of it. Ooh, I don't know if it'll focus, but there you go. Breaking right in the middle. And here's the other one with a really, really small break right there in the middle. So 2 new bulbs for my bulb hoarding storage center. And we'll see how she goes after that. So one side was easy to go into, but then the other side had this melted piece of light bulb connector. So I'm going to need to replace that before fixing the other side. Okay, now it's time for me to address the front bumper. Most of the clips are completely broken off, and they tried to hot glue it. I already got all the hot glue off, so it looks a tiny bit better. I'm gonna show you what I think is the best way to fix this, especially if you don't wanna buy a whole new front bumper, because repairing this is just gonna be a pain. So let's get into it. So this here is quick release bumper clips. So basically how it works is you put one of these here, and there's supposed to be a rubber band that holds it together and kind of creates tension like that. I found a better way of using this because you're going to drill into your car anyway, so might as well drill less times if possible. First thing you're going to want to do is reline up the front bumper to the fender, and I like to use some painter tapes to make sure that it's not going to move or fall off. Then, once you have the fender fully secured, you're going to get a drywall screw, yes, a drywall screw, and put it through the bumper clip and drill it straight through the mount and the front bumper. So that way it's held in place. And after that, you just got to take off the tape and there's the finished result. So I really like the way this came out. Obviously this piece is still going to hang loose because there's no clip holding that on, but all of this feels really solid. Doesn't feel like the bumper is going to come off anytime soon. So I count that as a win. Say what you want about it. I think it's a quick and easy fix for a cheap car. All right, so we've already done plenty of fixes to the Mazda 5 project. There's plenty more to come, but right now my pockets are getting empty. I'm getting tired of working on it, and I just want to drive it because it's a daily driver. So for now, this is going to be the end of part 1 of the Mazda 5 project. Still more to do. Stick around for part 2. And if you like what I'm doing, don't forget to subscribe and comment down below.